Good evening. I feel inspired to make a video. It's been a very weird day. Today is the 22nd of January 2022. I've just realised 22, 1 makes a 5, and 2 and 0 and 2 make a 6. 11. It's an 11 day. Potent. A day for the angels, but not such a nice day for me. I'm a master number 11 in my name numerology. So you would think it would be more resonating with me in a positive way, but today's been an absolutely awful, as in awe, A-W-E, full, F-U-L-L day. I ended a 30-year friendship. It would have been 30 years, I think on the 20th of February. I can't remember exactly the day we met, but anyway, a very dear friend that has been like a brother to me. And I've had to say goodbye to him this morning. So reluctantly, very reluctantly, I've kept him in my life on some level for 30 years nearly, holding on, because I didn't have, and I still don't have, family support. This friend saw me through a lot of monstrosities with my family of origin, and he was there for me when my divorce happened. He was there for me apart from 3 years when we were estranged for 3 years, because I made a fool of myself by falling in love with him, because I mistook that his care and his then loyalty had been a potential for a loving relationship, but it never developed into a sexual relationship. And I suffered at the time because I was just hoping against hope that I had someone that actually loved me for a change and was willing to be my partner. And back in those days, it hurt so much that I'd actually just been kind of played for a fool and had also made a judgment and error. But mind you, my head wasn't in a good space in those days. I'd been, freshly strangled. My stepfather had died. My stepfather had been a bit of a pedo. He didn't actually rape me, but he used to threaten me with rape regularly, and he used to attempt to molest me as a young girl. So when he died, it was like all hell broke loose. All my repressed emotions and, the strangulation that had happened in January of that year. My stepfather died in November 1995, so it was sort of like 10 months later, and I still wasn't really over the strangulation. And then Case died, and then it was just like one thing too many. One thing too many. And then, like, very soon after that, I think it was 2 months later, I lost this particular friend who I was, by that time, extremely attached to and in love with, and had hoped for a loving family based on a normal loving relationship, which never manifested. And look, I'm not angry about that. I'm not. It was just another kick in the guts at that time. And we were apart for 3 years, and although I loved him dearly and he'd been such a dear friend to me, we had that time apart, and things just kept falling apart for me even worse. Like in that 3 years that we were apart, I had taken up with, it was 2 years after my separation, so it was about a year after my friend and I had ended our friendship. I took up with this Israeli Moroccan guy who was just turned out to be just another murderous monster, and his sister, and I don't even want to go there now. I can't go there. It's too traumatic. But it went on for 18 months, the threats of myself and my children, and I had no support from anyone really, none. You know, I had one little neighbour who was sweet and worried about me, but there was no support from police, there was no support from the court system, and we came very close to being murdered. My cats were murdered, a bird was pet bird I had, he threatened the bird, this went on. In the end, a bikie came and stood up for me and said, I've had enough, I'm going to kill him for you. And that was the only man at that time period that had balls and respect for me as a human being, that stood up and said, I can't take watching this anymore, it's too awful. So there was that. Anyway, as a consequence of that, because I was young, I was 32, 33. I met another Israeli man, and I didn't know that he was set up by these same monsters, these Moroccan Israelis. I kind of suspected it, but I was in denial. I didn't want to admit to myself that I was being manipulated by my mother, her then boyfriend, Buck Shearer, and these monstrous Israeli Moroccans, that they knew this guy that they'd set me up with. And unfortunately for me, I fell in love with him. So then there was another couple of years of trauma and abuse, because this guy, he's dead now, so I took him to the Health Rights Committee, so I have no qualm saying his name. He stirred the pot, and he kept me in a permanent state of despair. So anyway, after 3 years of that abuse that was endless, I begged this friend that I've just said goodbye to today. I actually begged him. I said, I have no one, I'm alone, and we were good friends, and I was a good friend to you. I'm under constant attack from my mother and her husband and these other people, and this guy that I thought I was going to have this lovely love affair with has also turned evil and turned to shit. And I wasn't coping. Like, I had young children, you know, like, by the time my friend and I reconciled, my children were still young, you know, they were 13 and 12, something like that. So anyway, we resumed our friendship, and everything had been fine from then on. You know, we were happy to have our friendship back, and he stood by me through thick and through thin, and, you know, we've been family in a sense, but not a real family, not like a husband and a wife and lovers, and not in a sense where I can feel like I can go and, you know, visit his home anytime I like. As I said in a video the other day, we've been a family, but I've always been held kind of emotionally at arm's length, and I was okay with that, because, you know, I understand that with my complex PTSD issues that I'm full on. I can be full on, I can be a little bit needy, and I can be a little bit histrionic at times. I'm not borderline, like, I'm not bunging things on for attention. Like, when I lose my shit, it's usually over something genuinely seriously life-threatening or distressing. Like, you know, I'm very strong and I'm very resilient. So, anywho, I'm just giving this background because over the last 2 years, and this was before COVID really got going. Like, I had my gallbladder surgery when I almost died on the 25th of June 2019. and things have not been right, completely right between my friend and I, and my daughter even, my remaining daughter, because the other one's estranged. I can't even keep my kids in my life, you know, I'm such a fuck up. But anyway, the strain on our friendship was caused partially because I was so unwell after that gallbladder surgery, and I've been angry. I was very angry. I was angry that I didn't die, actually, because I was done. I had a suicide attempt in 2015 and I survived that, and I guess the gallbladder surgery with the systemic abuse and the terrible fight I had, because they didn't want to give me pain relief and they wanted to kick me out of hospital the next morning when I was still writhing in agony. It was just cruel. Like, you wouldn't do it to a dog. So I fought them like a wild animal, and my daughter came to pick me up and she fought me too. And I was in no state to be fought with, you know, after I'd just gone through that horrendous surgery and the horrendous fight with the hospital team. An entire hospital team I fought, because it was just an injustice that I didn't want any other patient to ever go through. But I mean, who am I kidding? 6 months after that, we had COVID, and look at the hospital system now. I won't even go to a hospital if I get sick now. I would rather die than have some fucking animal, you know, play with my life and my body and my safety the way they did, capriciously, disrespectingly and dishonouringly. So there is that. So the last 2.5 years have been about me rediscovering my worth as a woman, as a human being and as a spirit. 3 weeks after that surgery, I decided that I couldn't sit around crying about my shitty, vapid, empty, sad, pathetic life anymore, poking at the skin cancers I have in my head. I'm riddled with skin cancers, and it's another thing I haven't been able to address, because I can't find a skin cancer doctor who's not an animal trying to bloody molest me, like the last one. So there is that. But anyway, I digress. I hit the ground running in 2019, and I joined a drumming circle at West End, which was lovely. And, you know, I went to a shamanic circle one night. That was an interesting night. Found out that some shamans are just culturally misappropriating and don't really know anything more than I do. And that's when I realised I've been putting all these people up on pedestals and treating them like they're professionals and almost idolising them, and they don't know any more than I do, including most of the doctors and medical professionals out there. They've got the degree, they've done the work, they've got the degree, you know, they deserve to be respected. However, they've got this elitist, white supremacist attitude to anyone who's not like them, wealthy and well educated and a bit fucking precious. So there is that. It's not safe in this COVID paradigm to get sick with anything. Forget the COVID. It wasn't safe for me to put my cat to sleep when he was dying and badly needed euthanisation. It was taken out of my hands, and again I was dishonoured and disrespected by those vets. But I was very sick with bronchitis and a cold, and they just completely hijacked that and treated me like some kind of awful leper and decided I had COVID, and I had to get my friend, who was the animal's foster mother and had paid for his care all along, to my friend had to get her daughter to be there with our cat in his time of passing over and time of need. And do you know what? That was on the 9th of July last year. And I'm still extruding blood over that. Because, in desperation, when the vet said that they couldn't do anything and they were closing that night, I rang the RSPCA and again copped abuse from some little Office Sharon piece of work scumbag. So hung up on them and actually received the next day a phone call from the RSPCA inspector who apologised to me and said it was appalling how I was treated. So that was one redeeming factor. But meanwhile, I had all the trauma plus a cat that still needed to be put down that day, And as it was, he was left till nigh on closing time. That vet finally the next day took him in after telling me the day before that it was a dire emergency and I was cruel to keep him waiting that long. They made us wait. So lies, gaslighting, deception, and then me being made to feel like I'm some kind of bad pet owner on top of it. Now, my friend whom I love dearly, and I ended our friendship today, made a comment to me yesterday. I said to him, I had an intuition that I might be getting another cat sometime down the track. Because I like cats. I've always had cats in my life since I was a tiny, tiny little girl. And he made the comment, he said, don't get another cat because the last two cats, one spent her life under the bed avoiding a dog and the other one spent his life on the kitchen bench avoiding the dog, and it's just cruel and, making me out kind of to be some kind of monster because the cats didn't have quality of life. Anyway, I thought about it today. This was after I ended our friendship. I thought about it today and I thought, those cats weren't too freaking distressed and traumatised by the dog. Socks actually kissed Bobo on the nose goodbye the day he was euthanised, before I took him to be euthanised. They touched noses. And Socks liked being on the kitchen bench because he loved to eat. So there is that. And they did not have a terrible life with me. So him telling me I'm not good enough to own cats is another form of abuse and putting me down and making me out to be some kind of fucking arsehole, which isn't true. So anyway, there is that. But, so what happened was, this morning, my friend who said this about the cats, and I'll forgive him because he's depressed, and when you're depressed you get agitated and sometimes aggravated and you say mean things that you don't mean and you can be quite cruel. And I know that because I've had depression all my life concurrent with my complex PTSD. But I've never been cruel and I don't see any need for cruelty. But there is that. There's been a lot of button pushing over the years with him and my eldest daughter. Taking me on outings and in the most dreadful fights and scenes because I'm worried about being home in time for my dogs. I don't like leaving him locked up all day. And again trying to set me up so that I look like some kind of monster and cruel when I end up being in an absolutely distressed state, worrying about my dog. Like the narcissism and the selfishness is beyond belief that I have endured with these people, my close friend and my daughter. And in times of real crisis like my surgery, the cruelties laid on. I asked them to look after my dog when I went to surgery, and no, they didn't want to look after even my dog. It was actually too much of a burden to them, you know. So, and that actually added to my stress and worry when I was having surgery, because I was like, what's going to happen to my dog? And, you know, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that, you know, like, I very rarely ask for help. It's only been on those occasions when I've had major surgery. You know, in 2007, the 2015 event, the suicide attempt, I had to rely on, well, I didn't even know it was happening because I was out of my mind in the frickin' hospital in a fugue state. But apparently, you know, my friend Sally sent her daughter to check on my animals and make sure they were okay, which was very kind. But, you know, this is the thing. I'm not even allowed to have pets, and they make me out to be a monster, when all they had to do was go and throw a bit of food in a bowl and hang around, or take them to their home even and look after them. So there is that. And I must say, I've harboured a resentment about that I could not even have a surgery without that worry. But anyway, I'm back in my body now, and I'm determined to not be disrespected anymore. And I guess, God forbid I ever need major surgery again, I'll just have to relinquish my dog and my bird to the RSPCA, because I can't rely on anyone to support me. But I'm hoping against hope that I stay well enough that doesn't ever become an issue again, at least for another 5-10 years, till my animals reach the end of their natural life. So there was that awful pressure and distress. Now, the thing that finally broke my friendship this morning was my friend has been very depressed. And I've been worried about him, because as a depressive myself, you know, I know what it's like to feel like you're in that dark hole and no one cares. So I was making an effort to show him my care, but because he holds me at arm's length, I didn't get in the car and go and see him. So, and I told him the last time this happened a few months ago, I said, if you keep doing this, I'll have to end our friendship. Because when I ring you, you don't accept my calls, you don't return my call, you don't send a text to go, I'm okay. It's disrespectful and dishonouring. And, you know, I already had a weird, fucked up love affair with a guy years ago that I've held on to as well, who does the same thing. You ring him, sometimes he talks to you and we'll have a pleasant chat, other times just disconnects my call like I'm some kind of animal. And so it hurts, this constant rejection and constant betrayal and constant abandonment. And now my friend of 30 years is doing it. So anyway, I rang him this morning and I said, well, I rang, and it rang twice, and he clicked me off. He hung up on me. So I decided, I thought about, I'm angry, maybe I'll wait till I calm down. But then I thought, no, this has been going on now for 2 years. Particularly badly the last 6 months or so. And I was making excuses. I thought, oh, maybe it's because he had the vaccine and it's made him lose respect for anyone else, or I don't know. Anyway, and I decided it can't be the vaccine, because he's been doing this prior to that. Anyway, I sat with it and I thought, no, I'm not tolerating that. behaviour anymore. So I sent him a text and I just said, I guess our friendship's over, and everything has its season, and I understand, but I wish you well. I really do wish him well, because we were close friends for 30 years. I really do wish him to get well and to have a nice life, and maybe form some new friendships or have a lover or something where, he doesn't have to treat them like they're some kind of bush pig. And maybe he'll be happier. Certainly not happy with his friendship with me. So there is that. But I am not here on this earth after so many near-death experiences in the last few years to be treated dishonourably and disrespectfully. I'm not tolerating it, I'm not accepting it, I'm not wearing it. I deserve that when I make a phone call to someone and they're not well, that happens. It happened to me for 30 years. Flick off a text, I'm not well, I'll talk to you in a few days' time, or I'm not well, I don't want to talk to you, or something. Don't just leave people hanging and worrying and causing me distress like that, And I've called him out on this a few times now, so the fact he keeps doing it means there's no real friendship and no respect there. It's dead. It's a dead end friendship now. And I've been in denial about it for some time. I spoke to someone a while back, I can't remember who, a few weeks back, and they said to me, he's not your friend anymore if he does that to you. And it hit me. It hit me like someone had punched me in the face with a cement mixer, because it's true. Real friends communicate. Real friends reciprocate. I told my friend this morning when he rang me back, when he got my text, when I said our friendship is over, that I haven't been invited to his home in over 2 years. He hardly comes here anymore. He came here on Boxing Day with my daughter, and there was an awful lot of button pushing then that I just kind of chose to let go and ignore, because it's Boxing Day. It was Boxing Day, and I hardly see them. Sacrificing my heart and my values to be with people who actually don't really like me. They don't have any, there's no quality of, they're with me. I don't even know why he wanted to come. Last Boxing Day of this last year, so we're talking a month ago, for the first time I actually didn't invite anyone to come and spend Boxing Day with me, because I'm done. I'm done with the games and the cruelty. But they both went into Jared said, I want to come, and are we going to do our usual Boxing Day that we traditionally do? And I think he had noticed that I had not actually gone, are you coming for Boxing Day? Did my usual, female submissive begging, which I've never been submissive. But they kind of want to put me into this role of grovelling and begging for attention. It's like, fuck off, So anyway, they came, the two of them, my daughter and my friend Jared, and we had a lovely time until the afternoon, and that's the button pushing started. So, and that was after my daughter arrived, that it started to escalate. So I just got up and I just said, oh well, we've had a bit to drink and I need a little break. I'm feeling a bit funny in the head, and I was feeling quite funny in the head. It had nothing to do with drinking. It was to do with the button pushing. But anyway, I went off for a walk, cleared my head, came back, and we finished off the afternoon and evening, had a lovely time in spite of that. But then I got to thinking afterwards, like, how is that fun for anyone? You know, all the work and effort I put into making a nice Boxing Day, because I don't celebrate Christmas because I'm Jewish and I'm a witch, and you know there's lots of trauma issues associated with Christmas why I don't celebrate it. So we have this nice thing on Boxing Day and it still became fraught and toxic. And then I haven't seen him for a month since then, so it's kind of obvious that he just did his duty. Like, I'm cast into the big bad mummy role. I'm not his mother, and I'm not his lover, I'm not his partner. I don't even, it's just too fucking weird, the whole thing, the whole dynamic is, it's just too weird. But anyway, I had discussed it with my psychiatrist recently in one of our debriefs, and I said that I was conscious that I deserved to be treated with respect and courtesy by the people in my life, and that if they can't return a phone call, or if they refuse to accept phone calls, or if they can't return, you know, there's times when you can't take a call, right? If you're on the toilet or you're on another call, or, you know, you're busy. Like, I get it. But a simple text to go, look, I'll call you back, or I'm busy right now, or make the effort to call later and have a friendly chat when it's a more suitable time. It's not that hard. We're in the age of instant gratification, instant communication. Instant gratification, that came out wrong. We're in the age, oh God, we're in the age of instant communication where, you know, there's email, there's text, there's Facebook Messenger, there's a phone call, instant. You know, there's no excuse for rudeness anymore. There's just no excuse for it. I don't deserve to be treated so rudely and so horrifically, contemptuously. It's sadistic. So anyway, that's it. My friendship has ended, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I'm a nice woman and a loving person, and I've been there for people for 30 years, and for what? What was it for, really? For nothing. To live in a COVID paradigm where everyone thinks they can continuously treat me like shit. You know? No, I'm done. I'm just done. So then the other thing that happened this afternoon was I was watching a video. I watched a video by Linda Moulton Howe, who is a ufologist who's written books and is a very, very interesting lady. And I'll be honest, I don't always agree with her. I didn't agree with her when she said the world's going to end and we just have to kiss our cat and say goodbye. I don't like doom and gloom scenarios. I believe always in hope, and there's always redemption. And I don't believe in the Christian view of redemption, of course. You know, I don't believe we're going to get the rapture and we'll get carried and all that twaddle. But I do believe that, you know, good always wins out in the end. Hope, peace, true love. I still believe in true love. Isn't that ridiculous after the life I've led? After the life I was gifted with these false, callow, sadistic people. And I've been forgiving and forgiving and forgiving and taking into account his mental health issues and thank God he never wanted to be my lover or my partner. He would have eaten me alive. He really would. And maybe I've eaten him alive and that's why he's depressed too. Maybe we're just as bad as each other. And all this time, the last 8 years, I was in love with another man who was equally superficial and cruel. And I've been bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and crying about that, when in actual fact the gods were protecting me from yet another scenario with a man who has mental health issues and is a depressive and is sadistic. I was saved. I was actually saved. But I digress. Where was I? Yes. Linda Moulton Howe issue. I watched her video, which was aired yesterday, and then I continued on to watch, because I find her knowledgeable and interesting. So I watched her in an interview with Kurt Jaimungal. I don't even know who Jaimungal, this mongrel, is. I have seen lots of other shows of his in recent weeks, months, and I found him interesting and articulate and analytical and interesting. I liked him. He's young. He's probably in his late 30s. And so I watched some of his interviews, and there was something jarring, very jarring, with his interview with Luis Elizondo. There was something jarring, but I sat with it because I thought, no, I couldn't quite put my finger on what was actually wrong. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you watch things and you're thinking, am I being too critical? Am I being too emotional? Am I being too reactive? But I watched his interview today with Linda Moulton Howe, and he was aggressive and hostile to her from about 10-15 minutes. It was about a third of the way into the interview. You know, he made a joke about her being 80. It was her 80th birthday yesterday. But did she really feel 45? You know, like it's a harmless enough joke, but it's kind of putting her down. Anyway, I thought, well, I'll let that pass. But I noticed the look on her face. Now, like, I don't know these people in real life. So in the broad scheme of things, they mean nothing to me, right? They're just people. But I've been following them because I'm interested in ufology. I'm interested in all things paranormal. But I watched it. I watched the whole video. And I noticed in the comment section there were comments about making her out to be some kind of overreactive, silly old woman. Well, I watched it. I watched the entire thing. And I really watched. And it got to the end, towards the end of the interview, and he made a crack at her. And he claims, this Kurt Jaimungal, that he's analytical and he's just so, you know, highly intelligent and he can't help himself. No, he's a fucking psychopath and a narcissist. He had a crack at her that he says were because of upvotes and things on Twitter. It just felt completely wrong, blaming it on the questions coming from Twitter, that was somehow acceptable to attack her in that way. So, Linda Moulton Howe, I was so furious seeing her being belittled like that by some young whippersnapper or wannabe academic asshole, that I commented on his video that it was completely appalling how he spoke to her. He had the nerve to put a little love comment on my thing, which I noticed he has since removed, because it was appalling and unprofessional. And to say to her that she looked like a tough lady sitting there with her leather jacket, like completely condescending to her. She sat there, her eyes were like this, right? And people in the comment section made fun of her, mentioning all her qualifications and her degrees. Well, you know what? You do that when you're being belittled by a moron. You kind of remind them that you're not just some idiot that's new to this field like he is. Who is he? A nobody. He's come out of nowhere trying to take over in the ufology thing and big note him. He's just a nobody. How dare he make fun of her for her being an elderly woman with a leather jacket? What's wrong with that? How dare he? So I was livid. So I went on his thing, comments, and I said it was appalling, which it was. I didn't tell him on his page that he's a psychopathic, narcissistic arsehole, but I believe that of him now. I've seen him twice belittle the other gentleman, Luis Elizondo. Don't invite people onto your shows if all you're going to do is belittle them. It just makes you look crass and stupid. I don't care how many degrees he has or how wealthy he is or who he is. He's just a nobody. So I went on to Linda Moulton Howe's page, and I told her that I had just seen what happened, and I'm appalled. And I'm going to tell you, Linda Moulton Howe, and this is funny because I'm quite certain you'll never look at my page. I'm a nobody. I really am a nobody. I don't have any degrees because I got harried out of university when I was 17 by rape threats that came from very high when I was working in the student union as secretary. I was threatened out of not only my education, but out of my position as secretary in the student union. I was threatened to the point where I dropped out of university. Oh, poor me. That's what people think. They just think I'm just a whiny little crybaby. But no, I missed out on a first-class education and degrees and possibly being like Linda Moulton Howe, an accomplished woman who deserves to be treated with respect. I too am an accomplished woman who deserves to be treated with respect, not because of my degrees or my professionalism, but because I have a heart and a soul, and I have fought my entire life monsters like Kurt Jaimungal. Well, I can't take him seriously now, can I? I'm going to admit something to you, Linda Moulton Howe, if you should ever see my videos, stumble across them. I make 7 billion people. I'm going to admit something to you. I made a video, it would be about 2 years ago. I think it's up on YouTube still. I made a video and I referenced you because it was at the time when this whole COVID thing had blown up and you were talking about the end of the world and we're all going to die and, you know, the negative, malevolent aliens are probably going to come and take over and, you know, if the rapture doesn't happen soon. You didn't actually say rapture, but you insinuated it. And, you know, that the world is basically rotten and evil, which it is. It is basically rotten and evil now. And that, you know, it was all over Red Rover, so we should just sit with our pussycats on our laps. And you were stroking your beautiful cats, you know. And I got enraged about that. I'll be honest with you, Linda. I got enraged about that because I didn't want you to promote a worldview for the populace that is doom and gloom and death and destruction and divest us of even a little bit of hope. So I refer to you as I like her, but she's mad. And I apologise to you most profoundly. I apologise to you for discrediting you, a woman with a master's degree who's written books, who goes on an interview with this Kurt Mongol creature to be humiliated and put down and embarrassed like that, he's not worth the black under a hyperfungused toenail of a trollanoid or trontonoid insect alien on another planet somewhere. Alright? I want you to know that. He's not worth it. I'm upset for you because I too put you down in a sense. I haven't read your books. I've seen your books. I think my mother had several copies of your books. My mother was an avid reader. And maybe because my mother, being a really awful mother to me, I probably looked at those books and thought, oh, well, I won't bother reading those because my mother was heinous and evil. So I put you down on my own video, somewhere that sits on my list of videos on YouTube, and referred to you as mad. And I want you to know, I don't agree with you when you say the world's going to end and it's all awful and we're all being taken, because it is. It is awful, trust me. I know more than anyone how awful it really is. I saw the awfulness today, okay? I saw the awfulness on Kurt Jaimungal's comment section, defending him and putting you down because you're an elderly woman, that they don't like that you dare to stand in your own light and your own courage and your own power and look beautiful at 80 and wear a beautiful leather jacket and call you a tough old bird. Well, I'm telling you, I'm a tough old bird too. And there's nothing wrong with the way you look or the way you present yourself. There's nothing wrong with the books you've written. There's nothing wrong with your belief system, except that I've asked you, and I've commented on your own Linda Moulton Howe Earth Files page, that you must still advocate and teach hope. That's the only thing I don't agree with you about. All right? The world already ended for me many years ago when I was 6 years old. The world ended for me. Bye-bye. My dog's going off. The world ended for me over and over and over again. The world has ended, and I have tried to end my presence on this earth in recent years. In 2015, the world ended then because I didn't feel I was loved and valued enough by someone I wanted very much. There were other issues that ran concurrent to that. It was just a vortex of hell that I should technically not have survived. But here I am making this video. I survived surgery in 2019. And I was told at that surgery, when I almost died, by some kind of telepathic communication. I don't know who I was communicating with because I couldn't see them. I was just watching my last breath. I was told I was being returned to a hellscape of epic proportions, and 6 months later COVID happened and the world became even more demonic than it has ever been, in the name of health. I want you to know, Linda Moulton Howe, even though it's demonic and even though there are the most ugly, soulless, empty, vapid, cruel, sadistic, perverted humans on this planet, I stood up for you today. I'm a nobody and a nothing. I'm going nowhere but backwards 3 feet, forwards 2 feet, stumbling around. I have no real future. I have no profession. I have no home of my own because I was divested of that in my divorce 27 years ago, and I've not been able to get up on my feet and achieve enough to buy myself another house. And I'm sad and I'm angry about that too. But I'm okay. I've been living in the home I've been living in for 18 years. Nearly 18, nearly 19 years actually. It'll be 19 years in May, so 18 and a half years. I've been kept safe here. I have stood up for you today, Linda Moulton Howe, and I have stood up for myself. The demonisation of women in general, but particularly older women, women who are single. There were comments about whether you were married or not, which is completely, again, disrespectful and irrelevant. Women who are marginalised and alienated. Do you know what, Linda? We're better off with the aliens than these filthy, treacherous, sadistic, soulless humanoids. And I don't know if I can blame it on the vaccines or if they were always that way or if it's just become more blaringly obvious since the COVID thing happened. I don't know what has brought this to light. So, like an incendiary phosphor bomb that's just lit everything up, all the evil and ugliness of our world. But I want you to know, I stood with you today and I stand with you as a matter of principle. Even though I don't always agree with everything you're teaching, about the end of the world and we're all going to die. Of course we're all going to die. That is the natural order of every living creature on earth. But are we going to die without our souls, without love, without respect, without honour, and without integrity? I think not. I don't know you personally, but I love you. I want you to know that. You deserved better today. And I deserved better today. Not just today, but each and every day of my life. And it's not about money, status, houses, businesses, although I have been trying to get my little jewellery making thing turned into a business, and even that's a bit ridiculous. But it's not about that. It's about what's in here. Oh, sorry, wrong side. I don't even know where my heart is anymore. It's so glued together. It's about what's in here. It's about heart and soul. And as the Spanish say, corazón. Corazón. In French, cœur. It's about standing by you. So take good care, Linda Moulton Howe. I've apologised to you in this video. 2 days ago, as a survivor of child sexual abuse who's been watching very carefully the Virginia Giuffre, Epstein, Prince Andrew debacle, I apologised in the comment underneath my video to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, another woman I'll never meet and who I don't know personally and who's way, 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 way above me in status because she's a monarch. But integrity is everything. An apology was in order to her as well. And as I phrased it, a sort of apology, because I'm still seething with rage about the whole Prince Andrew, Virginia Giuffre thing. But I can see that Her Majesty is trying to do the right thing, and that must be hard when it's your own son. Very difficult position to be put into, especially for a woman who's elderly, who just lost her husband, and is probably really looking forward to a bit of bloody peace. So, there is that. Anyway, that's my video today. I'm grieving the loss of a long time lifeline friend who I loved like a brother. And I still do love. But I deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. And the irony is, yesterday I told him, I rang him and I said, you know, you're a handsome and intelligent and talented human being, and you're kind, so I want you to go supernova and just live the best life and just enjoy every moment and just be supernova. And today I ended the friendship. So, supernova, alright. Blew that one right out of the known galaxy. And the timing is awful. Awful timing for me to end the friendship when he's so ill and depressed. And he stood with me for the last 30 years. But it's the level of toxicity that has seeped into our friendship, you know, that I can't tolerate and I can't stand with. So it's over. You know, I realise he'll be gutted, because it's like when my mother died and my then boyfriend at that time dumped me like only months after my mother died. I mean, it was like, it's such a betrayal. But in a way, it's also a relief to not have someone in your life that you can't trust, that won't communicate with you and pushes you away constantly, like you're just some worthless dog. So that's where I'm at. It's like, if I'm destined to be alone and not have even, you know, friendship in my life, then so be it. It's like, what am I waiting for? Holding on to people that never even liked me enough to return a phone call. Saw me as a nuisance. Couldn't go and visit them to check on them when I'm concerned, because he said, oh no, I wouldn't like you to come here. So what's the point? Why continue? Why continue? Anyway, I'm going round and round in circles with that, and the answer is, I'm finally reached a point where I'm saying, no, I deserve to be treated with tenderness and care and respect. Basic courtesy, at least, if nothing else. If you don't like me, at least be polite. Say, sorry, I can't speak right now, bye. I'm done. I'm done. I'm raving on now. I'm raving on. I'm sounding a bit psychotic. But anyway, Linda Moulton Howe, you have an apology from me. My friend Jared, if you see this, I apologise for letting you down when you needed me the most. But this has gone on for a long time, and I'm done. There's another man out there that I have held hope for and have loved dearly. I apologise to you too for telling you to writhe in hell. See you in hell, I said. Another one that rejects my phone calls that I don't make constantly and only on rare occasions. Another rejecter, abandoner. So I delegated him to hell, and so it is. None of the hells I've delegated my most venerated and adored men can be any worse than the hell I have already lived through and survived against all odds. And I'm done living in hell of other people's making. I'm done being treated like a second-class citizen by men that I have stood by and adored and dreamed of and planned futures with and fantasized about. I'm talking about this other man that I fantasized about. I did hope something beautiful would come of that. So here I am, silly old woman, sitting on my couch, pathetic, crying over what was never ever going to turn into something anyway. Hopeless, helpless, hapless. Hell. This whole planet is just a hellscape for me, and I was told that. I was told when I didn't die on the 25th of June 2019 at the PA hospital, I was told, we're sending you back to a hellscape of epic proportions. But you're going to be okay. Well, I'm not fucking okay, am I? Really? I'm not really okay. But I'm holding on. I'm holding on for that microscopic ray of hope, that little jewel, that little sparkle of, tiny spark of life, that little tiny fragment of love that I carefully nurture in here. And occasionally I blow it into flames and it goes supernova and I make a goddamn fool of myself. But it's here. It belongs to me, no one else. You have to build your own supernova and maybe make a damn fool of yourself one too many times, so you sit here pathetic on your couch in your old age. Could happen. It's delightful when you think about it. But anyway, good evening, good night. I love you.